Hey everybody, and welcome back to another GMG review. Today I'm taking a look at the probably most anticipated 9th edition Codex for Warhammer 40,000 from Games Workshop, Codex Space Marines. And buckle up, because oh my gosh, this is going to be a journey. This is 206 pages of Codex. It's going to take a while to get through. So I'm going to give you a caveat before we get started here. I'm not going to get everything. I'm not going to get every detail. I'm not going to get everything right. And when this gets out into the world, people much more detail-oriented than me are probably going to pick out all kinds of new stuff that I'm just going to miss. I've had this for 3 days, and I've played a grand total of 2 games with it against the new Necrons, which had both Owen and I, trying to sink our teeth into some really meaty new changes. So I'm going to talk about some top-level stuff in these codexes. If you want to watch the Necron Codex review, you can go up here in the cards and check it out. There's also a battle report between the 2 new codexes live today. And I'm going to basically pull out the details that I thought were really cool and important and talk about those. So this codex series, these 2 new codexes, represent a real big format shift for codexes in general. They restructure how they're sort of laid out from the familiar 8th edition format. They add a bunch of stuff that I predicted a little bit when I reviewed the core rulebook for Warhammer 40,000. Specifically, you're going to get 3 ways to play content for this. It feels, if I was to give you sort of an analogy, a lot more like an Age of Sigmar battle tome than an 8th edition 40k codex. You have Crusade stuff, so for your narrative play, a little bit like when they put in all of the Path of Glory stuff in the AOS books. You get your own set of match play secondary objectives, particular to your army, which I think is super cool. You get your generic detachment abilities for when you use the main keyword for the faction. And then it goes through and adds, all of your new data sheet stuff, and even has a rules reference and a full point value thing. When we get to the end, I would say that just the quality of life improvements in this book alone and in the Necron Codex are going to have players having to make their armies the old way jealous. I can make a Space Marine army or Necron army now in under 5 minutes with all of the addition required, and it accepts something I think really important that I'll talk about when I get to the point value section at the end in points, where it just walks away from the idea of really specific crunchy point values, and I think that's really key. It's a really key acknowledgement for 9th edition, and I'm so happy the design studio's done it. So anyway, let's dive in. You can see here, I should mention that there are 89 pages of beautiful background art. I know everyone's like, oh, Ash, you were there. You were going to start talking about rules, and then you just jumped in. It can't really be, ignored that you have some beautiful, new and old Codex art in here. It goes through the different chapters. It goes through the current state of the Imperium and the Adeptus Astartes, basically trying to hold back the tide since the Cicatrix Maledictum. Yeah, is that right? I do it differently every time because I can never remember. It's a lot harder to say than Eye of Terror. Sorry. And then just what is a Space Marine chapter? What are their chapter plans like? How is it organized? What's the difference between the old way and the new way with the Primaris Marines, of course, and the new sort of structures and formats for the Indomitus Crusade and stuff that's happened since Gilliman's returned. And then just my favorite thing in any Space Marine book is when they give us the successor chapters. There's some classics in here, and then there's some new stuff too. And really importantly, you get background for all of the first founding chapters. And that is something that I thought was worth noting when we went through here and actually the background. This is going to be the core book for all those Space Marine chapters now. We're not going to see something like a full individual codex, I don't think, anymore for any of these chapters, for Blood Angels, for Space Wolves, for all of those original OG chapters that used to get their own books. This is it. So if you're a Blood Angel player or a Space Wolf player, you're going to buy this book because, and this is a bit of a spoiler, we go through data sheets, there's stuff from your army in here. Your Dreadnoughts, they're in here. All that stuff is in here now. Unless you have a unit that's radically different, it's in this book for all the core Space Marine stuff. And it'll say, when you give it X or Y keyword, what stuff don't you use automatically from this book, and what stuff do you use. And that's going to be some surprises for some people too, because I think they're going to get access to some things that they didn't have before, which is kind of neat. So the Raven Guard are in here, Space Wolves, Iron Hands, Death Watch, right? The Death Watch. The only Space Marine chapter notably absent from this book is the Grey Knights. The Grey Knights are not in here. They are radically different enough, I guess, that they're getting their own book. And I love that there's all these other successors in here too, like the Black Templars for the Imperial Fists, the Raven Guards, like the Death Specters. I had a Death Specters army that I started and like never finished. The White Scar Successors, and then Unknown Foundings. My boys are in here, the Blood Ravens. Of course, we know who founded them. It's 1,000 Suns. Come on, everybody knows that. Carcharodons are in here, my Red Scorpions. I kind of missed that army, but I'm glad Anthony Lee has... No, Anthony Lee doesn't have that army. Anthony Lee has my Guard army. Who has my Red Scorpion army? I think it went to Korea or Vietnam. It went far. It's not on my continent anymore. And so yeah, and then you get a nice color section with all the new hot models, Primaris stuff in here too. Although notably not any real new models in this release. This is just a book for the most part, and the Indomitus stuff. Although I imagine we will see stuff like these guys, the new Blade Guard plastic box, which is super cool. I love this guy, the old man Space Marine. He makes me super happy. New lieutenant models, of course, because you have to have more lieutenants. And then the stuff that's coming out eventually, we've got the new cool land speeder, and then what's the other new cool thing that I was looking at? Looks like these are going to be the new Eradicators. So there's the Star Set Eradicators, and then these ones right here with the multi-meltas and stuff, and the pointing guy. Looks like the box set, which is very nice. I like that a lot. I hadn't, maybe this came out and I just missed it. I hadn't seen, oh yeah, and the weapon platform and the terrain piece too, and the Gladiator. I hadn't seen this this Tech Marine model. I actually really like it. I really like this Primaris Tech Marine, and I kind of want one. I made my own apothecary though. I had to. And so now we're back to the rules. Okay, so there we go. I dithered on long enough. You can fast, I'm sure most people fast forwarded that, but I think it's actually kind of important there was some important stuff to talk about in there. The fact that the big first founding's in here, and get back to this. So laid out into sections, Battleforge rules, so rules for when you're not just playing open play and you're using like detachments. Chapter command, so certain characters in your army can be upgraded to be part of the chapter command, and they get different powers. So now, basically, like, if you want to have a Reclusiarch, you can pay points or power for that and upgrade your chaplains to be like a super powered guy. If you want a chapter master, a lot of things that used to be command points aren't going to drain your command point pool anymore, and they actually just have a power or point cost, which is really cool. And have some really cool effects. The Chief Apothecary one's going to get used a lot. It's 15 points to just get a free guy back every turn for no CPs. Anyway, we'll jump in there in a minute, but there's some ones that are going to be real popular. Stratagems, so your unique stratagems from this book. Now, as far as I can tell, this book is fully compatible with the current supplement codexes. So the current codexes for the Raven Guard, or sorry, yeah, the Raven Guard, the Salamanders, the Iron Hands, the Ultramarines, the Imperial Fists. There was a White Dwarf one, I think, for Crimson Fists or somebody. Anyway, all the supplemental codexes basically. Who am I forgetting? I'm forgetting somebody. White Scars. I'm forgetting something. Someone's gonna get mad. But anyway, they're compatible, and it feels compatible with the big codexes too. Whenever they reference Codex Space Marines, you'd use these. There is some stuff though that it feels like it's gonna be a bit of a clunk in between for the Dark Angels, Blood Angels, Space Wolves, and who else got big books? Just them? Look at my wall. Yeah, I think it's just them. I'm forgetting someone. Someone's gonna get mad again. No, I think that's it. I like things like the Dreadnoughts and stuff. Like, do you use one in this book? Do you use the one in your Codex? It feels like you're going to want to pull out of this book, and there's probably a FAQ for that. But the stratagems feel like they're fully compatible with the ones in this book as well. Some stratagems from the main Space Marine book have changed a lot. Like Honor the Chapter, for instance, which was a really popular one, is very different now. Army rules, so your Warlord Traits, your Relics, the Librarius Discipline, the Obscuration Discipline, Litanies of Battle. Not a lot of surprises in here. This was all in the last Codex, and it's to the most part, I haven't spotted any real big differences. And then we got the chapter play, match play rules. So your bespoke, I'm gonna use that word because it's in here. I use it too much in the Necron Codex. I'm gonna try not to, but your strategic goals and tactical stuff for your secondaries are all in here. Crusade rules, full rules for Crusade stuff. Excuse me. This is gonna be a long one. I'm gonna need some coffee at some point. Sorry. Here we go. Sponsor me, Tim Hortons. So the Crusade rules give you all the cool sort of like themed stuff for your army. So you get your own Crusade relics, you get your own agendas and stuff for playing Space Marines, as well as like upgrades and battle honors you can give your units. Data sheets, so all your guys, your war gear, so your weapons, your points, how many points you have. This section, it might be the most controversial section in the whole game because it acknowledges something that I think is really neat, and that is that it's really hard to balance a miniature game. And sometimes you just gotta throw your hands up in the air and go, this is the best guess, and we're not gonna get too crunchy. And that's gonna be controversial, I think. But anyway, Age of Sigmar seems to do fine with it. I'm pretty sure 40k will survive this point value change. And it's a quality of life improvement that cannot be understated. And then a rules reference, so a glossary of common terms for Space Marines. I love that there's just like a one sheet here and a reference page for the same thing for abilities and stuff. You get an example of a combat patrol. So this looks like it's going to be the start collecting box, which means assault intercessors. There's one for the Necrons too. I will bet, I don't know, my left baby toe finger or nail, something, you can hammer my baby toe or something like that, that this is the start collecting box, because I'd imagine they'll promote it in the Codex. So looks like the Relic Shield Captain, Assault Intercessors, Outriders, and the ATV. The little like dune buggy, I still don't know how, having watched Ad Astra, it just feels like the moon buggy from Ad Astra. I don't know how I feel about it still, but anyway, it is what it is. And then your detachment abilities. So an Adeptus Astartes detachment is one that only includes models with the Adeptus Astartes keyword, excluding anyone with an agent in the Pyram or aligned, or unaligned. So you've got your Inquisitors and your terrain, basically. And they gain the company command ability, they gain the chapter tactics ability, and troops units gain objective secured, described in the rule book. So no need to reprint that stuff, which is cool. Chapter command, you can include a maximum of 1 captain model and 2 lieutenant models in each detachment in your army. Sorry, Smash Captains, you're gone. With the changes to the Supreme Commander attachment anyway, being all HQs and now being like, you have to have the Supreme Commander tag and all that stuff, they were kind of gone anyway. But if you were possing it with 3 Smash Captains in a detachment, you're not doing it now unless you're spending a gajillion CPs too. Anyway, that's right there in the print. So no just companies of heroes anymore. Chapter Tactics, all Adeptus Astartes units other than Servitors and Beasts gain Chapter Tactics, so long as every unit in their detachments from the same chapter. And if your chapter does not have an associated chapter tactic, you can instead select a successor chapter, and they're all in here for making up your own chapter rules. And a cool picture of Space Marines fighting demons. All right, chapter tactics. So this was a big one on Warhammer Community. They showed off a lot of these. I'm just going to do a quick skim through. Grim Resolve was an exciting one if you didn't move, +1 to hit. And that's pretty exciting, excluding Pylon and Consolidation. So when they make an attack and it doesn't specify range or melee, so hitting on 2s, and you automatically pass combat attrition. So if you fail a morale test, you just lose 1 guy. Nobody else dies. That's huge. Lightning Assault from White Scars I think is pretty much the same. You can declare charge if you advanced or fell back. And models of this tactic don't suffer any penalties for assault weapons. Hunters Unleashed for the Space Wolf looks pretty much the same. +1 to hit if you charge, were charged, or perform a heroic intervention. And units with this tactic can all heroically intervene as if they're characters. So don't get within 3 of the Space Wolf army during your turn, because at the end of the charge phase, they're just going to pile into you, apparently, which is pretty neat. Siege Masters for the Imperial Fist. Each time a model of the tactic receives or makes a ranged attack, the targets don't get light cover. So that's a pretty big FU to a bunch of different army special rules. Each time a model of this tactic makes an attack with a bolt weapon, you get an additional hit, and if you roll 6 to hit. So doubling down on 6 to hit, it's pretty cool. Crimson Fists. Each time a model with this tactic makes a ranged attack against a unit that contains 5 or more models, get +1 to hit. And vehicles count as 5 models, so you're just basically always +1 to hit against mobs and vehicles. Each time a model with this tactic fires a bolt weapon, you get the 6 exploding 6s, basically, just like your parent chapter. Righteous Zeal for the Templars. Reroll advance and charge rolls, so they're orcs. And each time a model with this tactic would lose a wound. 5+, they get a shrug. Some stuff in the game now ignoring wound shrugs, though, like the Nightbringer. Yeah, it's scary. Red Thirst for the Blood Angels, +1 to advance and charge rolls. And if you make a melee attack, if that model's unit made a charge move, was charged, or heroically intervene, get +1 to wound rolls. So, anyone strength 5 is going to be winning basically everything in the game on 4s almost. Flesh Terror's Fury Within, +1 to attackers wound roll if they charged, were charged, or heroically intervened. And unmodified wound rolls of 6 get a +1 AP and is cumulative with the bonus from the Assault Doctrine, which a lot of things aren't cumulative anymore. Iron Hands, Flesh is weak. You get a 6+ wound shrug all the time, so slightly worse than the Templars. And then models of this tactic can change as having double their wounds remaining for their wound track. So vehicles basically double their wounds for their wound track. Ultramarines Codex Discipline, +1 leadership, and they can still shoot if they fell back, but they're +1 to hit. And then Salamanders, Forged in Battle, you can reroll a wound roll when resolving a ranged attack or fight attack, because you're cool at making weapons. You get the mastercrafted weapons. And each time an attack with an AP of -1s against you, it gets reduced to 0. So ignore AP -1. Shadow Masters for the Raven Guards. If you make a ranged attack against the attacker, against this unit, and they're more than 18 away, so it changed from, I think it was from 12 before, now it's 18, you get light cover. And each time a ranged attack is made against an infantry unit with this tactic that's entirely on or within a train feature, and you're not within 12, they get dense cover, so that's the -1 to hit. And then the Death Watch are in here now. Woof, my Death Watch. Oh, I'm excited. Each time a model with this tactic makes a melee attack against a Tyranid, Eldari, Orc, Necrons, or Tau Empire unit, reroll hit rolls of 1. I feel like eventually that's just going to say Xenos, like there should be a Xenos tag for all those things. So you reroll 1s to hit against Xenos, basically. After both sides have finished deploying their armies, select 1 battlefield roll until the end of the battle. Each time a model with this tactic makes an attack against that enemy unit, reroll wound rolls of 1. So, interesting, because I don't know how that's going to, I mean, how does that blend with the current codex, right? The Deathwatch Codex is pretty specific about the way it works. There's going to need to be like some answers to some questions. And then Successor Chapter Tactics. If your chosen chapter does not have an associated chapter tactic, is pick 2. That's it. Also, as stated, your chapter has 2 Successor Tactics. So like Bolter Fusillade, make a ranged attack with a bolt weapon, reroll hit rolls of 1. Born Heroes. If you make a melee attack and you made a charge move, add +1 to their attack roll to hit. So like it's Space Wolves, right? Duelists. Each time a model with this tactic makes a melee attack against infantry or biker, unmodified hit rolls of 6 automatically wound. You cannot select this if you have Whirlwind or Rage. Fearsome Aspect. Units with this tactic have the following abilities. Fearsome Aspect Aura. -1 leadership if you're within 3 of them. Hungry for Battle. Add 1 to advance and charge rolls. Indomitable. Yeah, auto pass. It's the Dark Angels one. Auto pass combat attrition. Inherit of the Primarch. So this one is pick a big chapter and get theirs. And then if you get that, you only get 1. Knowledge is Power. Hey, look, it's the Blooded Raven one. You can reroll any results of 1 for psych tests or Deny the Witch. Long Range Marksman. Add 3 to the range of rapid fire and heavy weapons, excluding flame weapons. Master Artisans. Reroll wound roll. Reroll hit roll. Sorry, not wound roll. Preferred enemy. When you select this tactic, select one of the following factions. So either Chaos Knights, Tyranids, Eldari, Orc, Heretic Astartes, Necrons, or Tau Empire. Reroll hit rolls of 1 for melee. Rapid Assault. You can run and still fire. Sorry, you don't suffer the penalties for running and firing assault weapons. Signs of the Forge. Models this tactic double their wounds for their wound track for the vehicles, or any kind of degrading stat line. Stalwart. Each time this an attack is made against a unit with this tactic, an unmodified wound roll of 1 or 2 always fails. So the best you can wound these guys on is 3+. Stealthy. Each time an attack is made from more than 18 away, you get light cover. So Raven Guard. Stoic. Add 1 leadership. Tactical withdrawal. You can shoot if you fell. Actually, charge if you fell back. Warded. 5+ wound shrug. As well for mortal wounds. And Whirlwind of Rage. If you charge, were charged, performed a heroic intervention, a 6 explodes into an extra hit. And that's your make your own chapter. And then chapter command. All right, so these are the cool ones. You can basically upgrade your captain, chaplain, tech marine, librarian, apothecary, ancient, or company champion to be extra super cool. I like that the company champion's in here. I hope we get Primaris company champions at some point because he's kind of a holdover from the command squad, and these keywords are in both Primaris and regular ones, but there isn't like a Primaris version right now, so I'd like to see a Primaris version. The Chapter Master gains a better aura, basically, so you can reroll the hit rolls with Chapter Masters like in the old Chapter Master rules, and then you get a Relic and Warlord trait, so you can give them these, basically, if they're your Warlord. 4+ gain a command point in your command phase, you get an additional 1. And then Angel Artifice, your armor goes to 2+, and you get +1 wounding toughness, so you get tougher. Master of Sanctity, he gets the additional Litany of Battle. In your command phase, you can recite 1 additional litany, so +1 litany to do, which is cool, so you can get your rerolls in melee plus something else. Relics and Warlord traits, you get Wise Orator. Each time this Warlord recites a litany, you get +1, so he does them on 2s. Each time this Warlord selected to use commanding orrery, the stratagem costs 1 less, only costs 1 command point. So instead of 2, it costs 1. And the Emperor's Judgment, it's a relic. Each time attacks made against the bearer, your opponent cannot reroll the hit roll, cannot reroll the wound roll, and cannot reroll the damage roll. So no rerolls against this guy. And the bearer has the following ability: Emperor's Judgment Aura. When enemy units within 6 of this bearer, roll an additional d6 from morale test and discard the lowest. Master of the Forge, he gets to basically put 3 wounds back on somebody instead of d3 when he uses his Blessings to the Forge. And then his Relics, Warden of the Ancient. While friendly chapter Dreadnoughts within 6 get +1 to its strength and attacks, And the Mortis Machinist, his relic, it changes his power axe to +3 strength, -2 AP, and 3 damage. Each time an attack's made with this weapon against a vehicle, if you fail the saving throw, you do a mortal wound in addition to any normal damage, which is pretty cool. Chief Librarian, he knows an additional psych power and can attempt to deny 1 additional psych power. So he knows 1 and can deny an extra 1. So I guess, I mean, most are 2 deny 1, like the Primaris one is, so he'd be 2 deny 2, which is kind of cool. And his relic would be Psychic Mastery, get +1 to his psych tests, and Neural Shroud. His psychic hood works up to 24 inches. This one's my favorite, Sheath Apothecary. At the end of your movement phase, this model can use Combat Restorative's ability twice instead of once, so you can bring back 2 models instead of 1. 2 heals instead of 1. It's D3. It's not bring back models anymore, I should mention. It's just D3 heal to somebody in range. And then Relics and Warlord Traits, you get Selfless Healer. Each time this Warlord uses its Combat Restorative ability, it's 3 flat wounds instead of D3, so he just pops 3 wounds back onto somebody who's infantry or biker. Each time this Warlord selected to return a destroyed model using the Combat Revival stratagem, it costs 0 command points. So 5 times a game, basically, he can revive somebody for free. So you're saving 5 CPs, which is pretty cool. I mean, if you stick them next to something expensive or big, you know what I mean, like bikes or like, I don't know, aggressors or somebody pretty beefy, having him put somebody back. Or even like a Devastator squad you want to keep alive, so you can stick next to Eradicators and have them bring an Eradicator back every time. That's a pretty big deal. So the Eradicators just keep popping back up instead of dying, as long as you don't wipe out the squad. Acquittal, a relic, it replaces Absolver, Bolt Pistol, or Bolt Pistol. It's strength 5, -3, 2 damage. But against infantry, it always wounds on 2+ and is damage 4. It's like a super scope Bolt Pistol. I'm literally building a Chief Apothecary right now because I love this guy. He's awesome. He feels like a really, really, really good support piece for 80 points. 80 + 15 for this one, so it's 95 points. The Chapter Ancient, Chapter Banner. In your command phase, select a friendly Chapter Core unit within 6 until the start of your next command phase. Each time a model in this unit makes a melee attack, add +1 hit. So +1 hit in melee, pretty cool. And then his Relic and Warlord Traits, if he's a Warlord, he gets the Aura, Steadfast Example. From friendly Chapter Core units within 6 of this Warlord, they get Obsec. And if they already have Obsec, they count as 2 models instead of 1. And then Pennant of the Fallen, every time a friendly model is destroyed and makes attacks from the Berries Astartes Banner ability, it makes 2 attacks instead of 1. So stick him next to something with a heavy weapon, and yeah, that's a pretty cool double down right there. 4+, I shoot my multi-melta twice. And then Chapter Champion gets a Skillful Parry, -1 hit in melee. Exquisite Swordsman, you can reroll the wound roll against characters. And it gets 5 attacks on its profile and leadership 9. Relic's Martial Example for its Warlord Trait Aura Martial Example. You can roll charge rolls within 6 of this guy because you're Warlord in your core or characters. And then Blade of Triumph replaces Mastercrafted Power Sword with +3 strength, -3 AP, and 3 damage. It's a pretty hot sword. All right, into stratagems. Okay, another quality of life improvement is the stratagems are color coded by what they sort of like affect. Makes it way easier to parse them instead of just having them be alphabetical. Now, the one thing I did notice when Owen and I were playing was we were looking at the Requisition. I was like, it's the red ones. I thought they'd be color coded the same throughout all the books. They're not. So if you're trying to go by color, that actually doesn't work. They're just color coded differently for whatever reason. Yeah, because I was like, Owen, just look for the red stratagems, because he was trying to find his extra relic, extra Warlord Trait one, and they were green, not red. And we were confused for me. He's like, I don't have them. And there was like a momentary like argument about that. So the first ones are a battle tactic. So they happen basically when you're doing something in a phase usually. So Death of the Traitors, you can reroll the hit rolls against Heretic Astartes. And then onto the chapter for 2 CPs. It's only usable on Assault Intercessors now. So used to be anybody, now it's end of the fight phase. Assault Intercessors can fight again. Fury the First, it's pretty much the same as before. +1 to hit for Terminators. Transhuman Physiology I really like, 1 or 2 CPs, 1 if it's 5-man, 2 if it's 10-man. Best you can wound on is a 4+ against them for that phase, the rest of the phase. So you have to get attacked, and then as soon as you're attacked, the best any unit can wound you on is a 4+. Really handy for keeping unit alive. Rapid Fire, it works on Intercessors or Veteran Intercessors now, and that's it. Gene Rot Might, 1 CP. Use stratagem in the fight phase, and a Primaris unit is going to select it to fight. You get a 6's auto wound. Unyielding in the face of the foe, so 6 to hit auto wound. It's only usable on Mark 10 Gravis units until the end of the phase. Each time an attack with a damage characteristic of 1 is allocated to them, they get +1 armor save. So little guns shoot you, You get 2+ save maybe. Only Indefinite Duty End for 2 CPs. If a character dies before it's destroyed, it can pile in and fight. That's pretty cool. Sorry. It can fight after the attacks models have finished making attacks immediately. So it interrupts for 2 CPs and then fights immediately. But doesn't pile in. Unless that's included in the fight action now. Actually, I think that's included in the fight action now in 40k. So he probably does pile in and fight. Armor Contempt, easy stratagem in any phase. When it dips to start each vehicle from your models, you're going to lose a wound as a result of a mortal wound, 5+ shrug. Machine Spear Power, fight at your full brackets for 2 CPs for the turn. Wisdom of the Ancients, it's basically Rites of Battle and Tactical Precision. You pick one of the two. So you get Tactical Precision now, which is cool. And it affects only chapter core units, like all the new auras do. But it doesn't work on Death Company or Wolfen Dreads, because they're just freaks. Commanding Oratory, using at the start of your phase other than your command phase. Select sort of any phase other than your command phase. Select a chaplain from your army that's not recited a litany this turn. They can recite one litany that's not already been recited. And it's automatically inspiring. Do not roll. And takes effect until the start of your next command phase. So you can like basically get an emergency litany out there if you need it. Combat Revival, so this is the one that's 1 CP normally. Use stratagem in the end of your movement phase. Select a apothecary unit from your army and select a friendly chapter infantry or chapter biker unit. So not core, just infantry or bikers. And it's not starting strength and within 3, and then return destroyed model. That's full wounds. So, I mean, yeah, Gravis units and bike units, pretty cool. Relic of the chapter here, the chapter, extra Warlord Trait, extra Relic. For 1 CP, hit and run warfare, you can shoot if you fell back. So only if you're a Strategies Biker, Land Speeder, or Storm Speeder. So it kind of gives the Ultramarine option to certain units. Hammer Wrath for jump pack units. Roll d6 for every model within that jump pack unit and within engagement range. And if the dice roll equals or exceeds that unit's toughness value, they take a mortal wound. So that's actually pretty cool, because it's not just like on a 6 you do a mortal wound. It's the idea is that you're slamming into this unit with your jump packers. So if you throw like a 10-man jump pack squad into, I don't know, let's say like an Eldar unit that's not normally easy to hit, that means that it's 3+ to do mortal wounds. So 10 assault marines or 10 jump troops charging into, I don't know, a squishy unit of like Eldar or guardsmen or anything that's like not, or even Sisters of Battle, 3+ mortal wounds is like, that's like 7 mortal wounds maybe that you just like slam into the unit. Skilled Riders, your maximum to hit for bikers, land speeders, or land speeder storms. Uncompromising fire for 2 CPs. Infantry unit from your army performing an action. They can shoot without the action failing. That's pretty cool for scoring. Steady advance, kind of stationary, even if you moved, for 2 CPs for infantry. Adaptive strategy uses stratagem in the command phase of a world of your armies in the battlefield and a combat doctrine's active. Select 1 chapter core unit until the start of the next command phase. Each time a model in that unit makes an attack, the Devastator Doctrine, Tactical Doctrine, and Assault Doctrine are considered to be active. So basically, anyone on the battlefield for 2 CP can have any doctrine you want to be active. Pretty cool. Suppression fire. When a whirlwind is selected to shoot until the end of the phase, when that model makes an attack with a blast ability, if it hits squared by the attack, you can't set Overwatch or set Defend. So you knock off Overwatch on a unit. Terror Troops for Reavers. Use stratagem in your command phase and select a unit from your army. That unit gains the following. Terror Troops Aura, minus, if you're within 3 of that unit, you lose OBSEC or any similar ability, regardless of how many models. And until the end of the turn, each time a Reaver unit that ends a normal move, an advance or charge within 3 of an enemy unit performing an action, roll 2d6, and if it's higher than leadership, the action immediately fails. So you can knock people off their actions, or get rid of OBSEC. And both those abilities, I'm not a huge fan of Reavers right now. They just seem like bad assault intercessors. That actually, I mean, it's CP hungry for something that's situational, but if it was 1 CP, that might make me take a unit of Reavers just to like knock someone out of the middle. Orbital Bombardment for 3 CPs. Sorry, a Guerrilla Tactic. I feel like I should have this, use this one. Use this stratagem in your movement phase when a Phobos unit from your army is within 6 of any enemy model and it's selected to move. If the mission you're playing is using a Strategic Reserves rule, place that unit into Strategic Reserves. So like, you're more than 6 away and you go to move, you just disappear and you go back into reserve. The Phobos unit just hides. Kind of neat. Bombardment is if a Strategies Warlord is on the battlefield in your command phase. Select a point in the battlefield and place a marker on that point. At the start of your next command phase, roll a d6 for every unit within 6, adding 1 if they're within 3 of the center, and -1 if they're a character. On a 2 to 5, they take d3 mortal wounds. On a 6, they take d6 mortal wounds. And you can only use this stratagem once. So you can call in your space truck once to bombard the planet. Auspex scan for 2 CPs. Use stratagem at the end of the reinforcement step of your opponent's movement phase. Select start easy infantry unit from your army. It's not an engagement, and they can shoot. That's pretty cool. But have to be shooting the eligible enemy that was set up from reinforcements and within 12. So you can shoot the guys as they come in, kind of. Tremor shells for 1 CP for a Thunderpower cannon. Until the end of your next phase, each time a model making a ranged attack, subtract 1 from the attack's wound roll. And if a hit is scored against a target that's not Titanic and cannot fly, have their move value until start your next movement phase, and subtract 2 from advance and charge rolls. Shock and Awe. Use stratagem in the shooting phase for 1 CP against Adeptus Astartes shock grenade units or land speeder storms. Select one enemy within 6 of that unit until the start of the next turn. They can't overwatch or set defend. And each time a model in the selected unit makes an attack, they're -1 to hit. So you can toss flashbangs or hit them with a storm. Assault launchers. Select a unit with assault launchers from your army and enemy unit within 9. That unit can either brace or duck for cover. And this is interesting because the assault launchers used to be like an impact hit when you charged. Now it's for a CP, you activate them. And that's actually true of melta bombs as well, as you'll see. Flak missiles, Hellfire shells, the Grav Pulse on your vehicle, and all your smoke launchers. Basically, you can choose to do one of 2 things. You either brace and you suffer D3 mortal wounds, or you can duck for cover and you're -1 from your attacks characteristic, and you cannot set fire, overwatch, or set defense. Now, the unit that you select can't be a vehicle or a monster, because it just doesn't care about the assault launchers. Now for a CP with a Melta Bomb, using the fight phase, you pick a unit with the Melta Bomb keyword. Now that's Tactical Marines and Assault Marines. There's actually some value in this for the original like OG Marines. I didn't see Melta Bombs on any other units, but maybe the Vanguard have them too. I didn't see any Primaris units with the Melta Bombs. Anyway, you pick 1 model to fight. If its attack hits, it makes 1 attack. It does 2d3 mortal wounds, and the attack sequence ends. But it's only against vehicles because you hum a Melta Bomb at it. Grav Pulse, unit with the repulsor field. If they fall back until the end of the turn, they can still shoot, even though they fell back. That's pretty cool. So the repulsor can spend a CP to fall back and still shoot. Now it's Ultramarines, it's doing it still at -1. Your opponent's charge phase, when a Adeptus Astartes repulsor field unit from your army is selected as a target of a charge, -2 to the charge roll. So for a CP, you can either make yourself harder to charge or fall back and still shoot. The 1 CP fall back and still shoot with no penalty, though, is pretty cool. Hellfire Shells, 1 CP. It's for a infantry Adeptus Astartes model when they shoot with a Hellstorm Heavy Bolter, or an Executor Heavy Bolter. You make 1 attack, but if it hits, it's D3 mortal wounds. And if it's against a monster, it's automatically 3. Flak Missile for 1 CP. This one went up in value a bunch. I'll make 1 attack, but add +1 to hit, and if a hit is scored, you take 2d3 mortal wounds, and the attack sequence ends. So it's not just d3 mortal wounds anymore. The Flak Missile got way better. And then Smoke Screen, used in your start of your opponent's shooting phase. When a Astartes Smoke Screen unit from your army is selected to be the target of an attack until the end of the phase, each time an attack is made, subtract -1 from the hit roll. So popping smoke doesn't keep you from shooting anymore because it happens in your opponent's turn, and you get to pick the unit that is being attacked as opposed to having to hope that the unit that you're being shot at is the one that's going to be -1. All right, Warlord Traits. So we got Vanguard and regular ones, and then some specific ones for all the chapters. So the regular Space Marine Captain ones, or Space Marine Hero ones, you get Fear Made Manifests and Aura, 6 inches away, -1 leadership, and -1 to combat attrition tests. Imperium Sword, reroll charge rolls, and each time you get to charge or proactively intervene, you get +1 strength and attack. Iron Resolve, +1 wound, and a 6+ wound shrug. Champion of Humanity, each time this warlord fights, if it's an engagement of an enemy character, you get +1 to your attacks. And when you make a melee attack against a character, +1 to hit and wound. Storm of Fire, it's an aura. While chapter core is within 6, each time a model makes a range attack, unmodified 6 is AP -1, and it goes on top of your doctrines, which is pretty cool. And then Rights of War, while friendly chapter core or chapter character units within 6, you have OBSEC, and you kind of double, or sorry, you just have OBSEC, doesn't double your models in this one. Vanguard's one, Shoot and Fade. Once returning your shooting phase, after shooting with a friendly chapter Phobos unit within 6 of the Warlord, they can make a normal move, or it can advance. In either case, it can't charge that turn. Lord of Deceit. After both players have deployed their army, select 3 chapter Phobos units from your army and redeploy them. If you use Strategic Reserve, you can throw them out for no CPs. Master of the Vanguard. Phobos units within 6 of this Warlord add 1 to charge rolls, and each time you're selected to fall back, add 1 to the move characteristic. Stealth Adept. Can't be targeted unless it's the closest model. That's it with shooting. Target priority in your command phase, you can select one friendly chapter Phobos unit within 6 of the Warlord until the start of your next command phase. Each time a model in this unit makes a ranged attack, add +1 to hit. And Master Marksman, +1 damage to your ranged weapons, excluding grenades and relics. Dark Angels get Brilliant Strategist. In your command phase, you can select a friendly Dark Angel within 6 until the start of your next command phase. If the Tactical Doctrine's active, you can roll it back to Devastator. If the Assault Doctrine's active, you can consider it to be Tactical. So you can roll back your Doctrines if you want for a unit within 6. White Scars get Deadly Hunter. After they make a charge, you can select an enemy unit within 1 inch, and a D6 of 2+, they take a mortal wound. Beast Slayer for the Space Wolves. While the Warlord's in engagement range of an enemy monster or vehicle, get +1 attack. Each time the Warlord makes an attack against a monster or vehicle, add 1 of the attack hit roll and 1 of its wound roll. So you're +1/+1 against monsters and vehicles. You get the Imperial Fist Architect War Aura. When a friendly Imperial Fist core unit is receiving the benefits of cover and within 6 of the Warlord, each time an attack with an AP of 1 is allocated to them, it's AP 0 instead. Crimson Fist get Refuse to Die. This is neat. The first time this Warlord is destroyed, you can choose to roll a D6. On a 4+, you're set back on the battlefield within, or hopefully within an inch, or not within an inch of enemy models, and as close as you can to where you died, with D3 wounds left. You just stand back up. But it's end of the phase, so you can't keep going. There's no way to reroll it now because the dice roll is not a specified one from the strategic reroll. Oathkeeper for the Black Templars. This Warlord is eligible to perform a heroic intervention if it was within 6 horizontally and 5 vertically of an enemy unit. Each time this Warlord makes a heroic intervention, it moves 6 instead of 3. Blood Angels get Speed of the Primarch. You fight first if you're in engagement range of any enemy units. Sweet. Flesh Tearers. If there's 5 more models, you get D3. Within 3, you get D3 additional attacks when you're fighting. Iron Hands. At the end of the movement phase, unless this Warlord's a Tech Marine, it can repair a friendly vehicle within 1. Gets a wound back. If this Warlord is a Tech Marine, it gets D3+1 instead. Done for the Codex for the Ultramarines. While the Warlord's on the battlefield, each time you spend a command point, use a stratagem to roll a D6. On a 5+, the command points were funded. So that's the same as the one in the Supplement Codex. Actually, some of these are the same, so it's worth noting. Salamanders get Anvil of Strength, +2 to your Strength characteristic if you're a Warlord. Raven Guard get Echoes of the Ravenspire. Once per battle, at the end of your movement phase, you can disappear into the gloom. If you're more than 6 from the enemy, you're removed from the tabletop, and in the subsequent movement phase of the reinforcement step, you get back in the battlefield anywhere not within 9. If the battle ends and the Warlord is not in the battlefield, he's considered killed. And then Deathwatch get Vigilance Incarnate. In your command phase, you can select one friendly Deathwatch core unit within 6 of the Warlord. Each time you do, you select a battlefield roll at the start of your next command phase. Each time a model on the battlefield and the unit makes a attack against the enemy in that battlefield roll, reroll wound rolls of 1. So it's basically the Tome of the Ectoclades for a Warlord trait for Deathwatch, which is kind of neat. All right, we're into Relics. Now, some Relics pretty much the same. I haven't, and some are slightly different. Like Armor Indominus is a once per game 3+ invulnerable save, and a 2+ save and 1 extra wound. Shield Eternal, 4+ invul, +1 armor save, and a 5+ wound shrug. Standard of the Emperor Ascendant, +3 to your Aura Rage for your banner. And each time a morale test is taken for a friendly chapter core with this banner ability, you reroll that test. Because the Justice Astartes doesn't do what it used to do anymore. Angels of Death is slightly different. Teeth of Terra, I was an idiot in the game you watched today. I forgot that the squad leaders aren't characters anymore. Because you used to be able to give them special equipment, and I think you used to be able to do that in Age of Sigmar too, give them relics. I tried to give them the Teeth of Terra. We realized halfway through that I couldn't do it. But yeah, it's an amazing chainsword that's +1 strength, -2 AP, and 2 damage, with 3 additional attacks when you fight. So, was really excited to give that to my Assault Intercessor Sergeant until I realized I couldn't do it. Primarch's Wrath, it's a cool bolt gun, rapid fire 2, strength 5, -2, 2 damage. Burning Blade, not the Burning Blade of the Imperium anymore, just the Burning Blade. +2 strength, -5 AP, and 2 damage. Purgatorus, I think that used to be 3 damage, I think it's gone down. Purgatorus is a bolt pistol, heavy bolt pistol, or mass-crafted bolt pistol, or any of the bolt pistols, basically. It's pistol 3, strength 5, -3, 2 damage, 18-inch range, pretty cool. The Reliquary of Gaphamore, Primaris models only, get the following ability. While an enemy Psyker is within 18 of the bear, subtract -1 from Psych tests. Each time a Psych test is failed for that unit on a 4+, they D3 mortal wounds. A Bellicosa Bolt Rifle. Assault 4, 24-inch range, strength 5, -1, 2 damage. Lament. It's a Stalker Bolt Rifle. It's heavy 1, strength 5, -2, 3 damage. And if it attacks successfully wounds, it does a mortal wound on top of normal damage. A Phobos model can a Ghost Weave Cloak. Each time the barrel makes a normal move, advances or falls back. It can move through any models as if they're not there. And each time an attack is made against the bear, subtract 1 from the attack's hit roll. Tome of Malcador for a librarian, no additional power. Benediction of Fury, it's a Crozia, it's +2 strength, -2 AP, and 3 damage. And if you do a 6 to wound, it's a mortal wound on top of the normal stuff. Honor Vehement, the bearer has the following ability. Well, friendly chapter core units within 6 inches of the bearer. Each time that unit fights until the fight is resolved, add 1 of its attack characteristic, but not cumulative with additional attacks granted by Shock Assault. So basically, when you're not charging, get +1 attack. The Vox Spiritum, Primaris model only, add 3 to the range of the bearer's aura abilities, but doesn't increase the range of aura abilities that are psychic powers. Librarius Discipline and Obscuration Discipline looked pretty much the same. Veil Time, they're all categorized now, so Blessings, Veil Time. Reroll, Advance, and Charge rolls, and you fight first. Mighty Heroes, +1 strength and toughness to a chapter core, chapter character model within 12, so I can't give it to my Dreadnoughts anymore. Null Zone, Blessing, until starting your next phase. If you're within 6 of the unit, you can't make invulnerable saves, including your own models. Until starting the next psychic phase, you get half your psychic tests if you're within 6. So good, but it works on you too, so you gotta be careful. Psychic Scourge is the Witchfire, 18-inch range, D6 plus leadership versus D6 plus leadership. And if you're higher, you do D3 mortal wounds. Fury of the Ancients, Witchfire, it's a straight line again, does mortal wounds. Psychic Fortress, 5 plus invul within 6. And then the Obscurus Discipline gives you Shrouding. You have to be the close eligible target for your Phobos unit. Soul Sight. To the starting next psychic phase, and each time a model in that unit makes a ranged attack, you can reroll the hit roll and the target does not get cover. It's pretty cool. So you just pick a unit within 18. It has to be Phobos though. Mind Raid, select a model within one enemy model within 18 invisible. They take a mortal wound, and if it's a character, roll 3d6. If it's higher than leadership, gain a command point. Hallucination, Warp Charge 6, enemy units within 18 invisible. Till start of your next psychic phase, -1 leadership, and -1 hit. Tenebrous Curse, if you manifest as like a unit that cannot fly within 18 and take a mortal wound, and they're -2 to advance and charge rolls. And then Temporal Corridor, pick a friendly, if selected, a friendly Phobos unit within 6 cannot shoot or fight this turn. If that unit's not within engagement range of enemy models, it can either make a normal move or can advance as if they were your movement phase. Which is pretty cool. So you basically move twice, but you can't shoot or fight. And then Litanies of Battle, I didn't really notice any changes here, but some of you might. Litany of Hate, still reroll melee attacks. Litany of Faith and Aura. Well, friendly character, character or core units within 6 of the Priest, 5 plus Wound Shrug. Catechism of Fire, it's for core or character again. Each time an attack made by the unit makes a ranged attack against the close eligible target unit, it's +1 to hit wound. So you're +1 to wound at your closest target. I mean, it's situational, but neat. I guess you can maneuver into being closest to whoever you want to be closest to. Exhortation of Rage. If this litany is inspiring, select a friendly chapter core, chapter character unit within 6. And when they make a melee attack, add +1 to the wound roll. Mantra of Strength. Add 1 of the priest's attacks and strength, and then add 1 of the damage with its melee weapons. Recitation of Focus. Each time a model in the units within 6 makes a ranged attack, add 1 of its hit roll for core or characters. And then Canticle of Hate, add 2 to the charge rolls for a core character unit. It's not cumulative for any other sources of bonuses. And each time a model in that unit makes a pylon move, it can move to an additional 3 inches. And it's not cumulative of anything else. And then we got our chapter approved rules. All right, so when I did the rulebook review, I said these were probably coming in. I'm really excited about one of them. The other ones I'm kind of not excited about. Purge the Enemy's cool. You get victory points as follows. Score 1 victory point at the end of the battle for every enemy unit that was destroyed by a heavier grenade during the Devastator Doctrine. Score 1 victory point at the end of the battle for each unit that was destroyed as a result of attack made with a rapid-fire assault weapon by the Tactical Doctrine. And then score of HP at the end of the battle for each unit that was destroyed with a pistol or melee weapon while the assault doctrine was active. So to get to 15, you have to kill 15 units, first of all at the right time. It's neat, but it's not easy to do. Battlefield Supremacy. This one's a shock tactic, or shock tactics is the Battlefield Supremacy one. It's score 3 victory points at the end of the battle round if you control 1 or more objectives that were controlled by your opponent at the start of the battle round, and it deducts a strategy unit from your armies within range of objective marker. So push somebody off, you score 3. No Mercy, No Respite. This is the one I really like. It's kind of really easy to do, and it fits into like a couple of other ones too. Oaths of the Moment. It's progressive, and you score victory points at the end of each battle round for achieving the following 3 oaths. Score a victory point if any character, vehicle, or monster was destroyed by a Astartes unit during that battle round. So if you kill characters, vehicles, or monsters, you get a VP. Oath of Honor. Score a VP at the end of the battle round, so long as no Astartes unit from your army failed a morale test or fell back. That one's a bit harder to do in your Ultramarines because you want to fall back. But then Oath of Duty, score 2 victory points at the end of the battle round if an Astartes unit's wholly within 6 of the center of the battlefield. So just go stand in the middle and you'll score 10. As long as there's somebody within 6 of the middle, you're going to score 10 over the course of the game. And then if you destroy 5 vehicles, monsters, or characters over the course of the game, you get to 15. So, yeah. I like this one a lot. It's good. And then Crusade Rules. So once again, the Crusade stuff is going to be adding agendas. You're going to get your requisition stuff you can buy with your rec points. New battle traits, autorifics, Crusade relics, and a showcase army. Again, I'm not going to go through all this stuff, but it's very cool. I like this one though. There's one I want to point out that I really like. The Rubicon Primaris for a requisition point. Purchase this requisition at any time. Select a captain, librarian, chaplain, apothecary, ancient, or tech marine that doesn't have the Primaris keyword and roll a d6. On a 1, they're dead. On a 2+, replace that unit with a Primaris unit with the same keyword from the same chapter. So you can turn a regular librarian or captain or something into a Primaris one by having them go across the Rubicon. I love that. And then this one, Even in Death I Still Serve, when you're get a second or subsequent battle scar on a character, excluding vehicles, you can convert them into a Dreadnought for an RP. That's such a cool, like, thematic rule. It doesn't, I mean, in a Crusade, it doesn't functionally change anything because you can just convert into supply and buy those characters. But I love the idea that instead of doing that, you put them in the Dreadnought, you get the Dreadnought for free instead. It's so cool. It's so thematic. It's really, it's just well thought out, basically. The new battle traits, honorifics, so like you're master of whatever, you get your cool names for your characters. Cool Crusade relics like the Paragon Blade, the Adamantine Cuirass where you get +1 wound and toughness, just cool ways of like upping your stats or getting better weapons. And this super sweet Silver Skull army by Darren Latham. I really like Darren's painting. He's like just really talented and he does a lot of like really cool, just not standard Space Marine stuff. All right, data sheets. So, non-compliant Codex chapters. This is the stuff where I'm pretty sure we're not getting standalone books for the big chapters anymore, because you see in this like block right here what you can and can't take if you're a different type of chapter. Black Templars, no librarian units. Dark Angels, you cannot have Stern Guard and Vanguard squads. Death Watch cannot have any of the following squads: Assault squads, Attack Bike squads, Bike squads, Devastator squads, Stern Guard veteran squads, or Tactical squads, or Scout units. They just don't exist. But you can have any of the other units. So, does that mean I can have a Death Watch Storm Raven? Can I have a Death Watch Ironclad? Can I have a Death Watch? Because, like, until the Codex says I can't have those things, according to this, I can. Space Wolves can't have any of the following things: Apothecaries, Assault squads, Devastator squads, Stern Guard squads, Veteran squads, Tactical squads, and Vanguard veteran squads. So I can have a Space Wolf. Can I finally take my Storm Raven? Can I finally take the Storm Raven I painted ages ago and use it in my Space Wolf army? It's interesting. Again, I don't know for sure, but the list of prohibited units is pretty small here, and it kind of unlocks all the standard Space Marine stuff for all these chapters in a it doesn't say we can't have it, so we can have it kind of way. But again, those big books are fairly uncompatible with the certain ideas, like we don't know like which Dreadnought do I use, like that kind of thing. So we'll see. And then successors, some rules refer to successors. So for instance, who belongs to what? Wargear weapons and abilities. All right, so Angel of Death. If you have that, you have the following, and they should know no fear. Ignore modifiers to combat attrition. It's not reroll leadership anymore. That's gone. Bolter Discipline, it's the standard one from before. Shock Assault, still the same. Combat Doctrine, still the same. And then deployment abilities. If you're a combat squad, you can deploy in 2. Death from Above, go under reserves, and you don't have to pay the CBs for it. Concealed positions, same thing, anywhere on the table not within 9. Outflank, same thing, don't pay reinforcements. Anywhere within 6 of a battlefield edge, not within 9. And teleport strike, same thing as Death from Above. And we're into the new stuff. All right, so the new stuff. Things I like. Primaris Captain has options now. It's not just he's armed like this. You can buy him this weapon or that weapon. You can change up his stuff. I mean, you've been able to do that for a while, but I like having the ability to convert miniatures, and just the more options are in here, the better. Again, I'm not going to go through this like crazy. I'm just going to point out some differences. Captains with a Mastercrafted bolt rifle, pretty cool. He's got Gravis armor, so this is the new model. Captain in Phobos armor, he's the one from the Shadow Spear box. Captain in Gravis armor, so he's got his cool big power sword. You still the old Star Set one. Captain in Terminator armor, regular Space Marine Captain, and again, you're getting all your new things in here, like the Risk grenade launcher. And you'll note that when something's a call out, it's in here. So Deathwing, if this unit's a Dark Angel, it gets the Deathwing keyword, meaning there's not going to be a Deathwing master entry, I don't think, in the new Successor Codex for the Dark Angels, or the primary Codex for the Dark Angels. This is the unit you're using. Same with the Captain over here. Then we got Captain on a Bike. Yeah, he still exists. Primaris Lieutenants. He's a Wolf Guard. If this unit comes from the Space Wolf chapter, he has the Wolf Guard keyword. Yay, so that means that there won't be a Wolf Guard Primaris Battle Leader entry. It's just a Primaris Lieutenant with the Wolf Guard keyword. Same thing over here. Wolf Guard gets added. That's right, you get your Company of Heroes, you get your second battlefield role Lieutenant. If you take one, you get a second slot for free, basically. Deathwing keyword for your Primaris Librarian if he's part of it. Again, Wolf Guard over here. Librarian gets Deathwing. Librarian gets Deathwing. Yep, so all the Dark Angel stuff is here. Chaplain becomes a Wolf Priest if it's from the Space Wolf chapter. Knows the Litany of Hate. But that means that if this is your Wolf, I guess he would get the Wolf Priest ability, but maybe there's going to be a separate Wolf Priest thing for his healing abilities, the Apothecary stuff. Or maybe that just gets replaced. Actually, you know what probably happens? Is model with the Wolf Priest keyword in the Space Wolf Codex gets a stratagem where it can do healing bombs. That would make more sense. And that way you can just use this entry and then create stratagems in the new books that do the effects that you used to have on the other things. Primaris Chaplain on a Bike. Cool Apothecary, or sorry, cool Tech Marine rather. And then your Intercessors. It's the standard Intercessor profile. Assault Intercessors. You can see now that we can take a Power Fist, a Power Sword, or a Thunderhammer. Because of course we can. And then the cool Heavy Intercessors. This has already been spoiled on Warhammer Community, so I'm not going to go through it like crazy, but the Gravis guys, still troops. Infiltrators. So the Helix Gauntlet is very different. It's not bringing guys back to life anymore. It's once per turn. The first time a saving throw is failed for the bearer's unit, the damage characteristic of that attack is changed to 0. That's it. So nobody coming back to life now. Incursors. Tac Squad. There they are. 2 wounds. 5 power. They got bolt guns. They're basically the same. But you'll see some new keywords. So like there's the Melt-A-Bomb keyword. No Melt-A-Bombs over here, but they do have the Smokescreen keywords. They can use the Smokescreen stratagem. So that's like the ability to change this stuff is now mixed into the keyword section. Company Champion. This is going to be controversial. Scouts are elites. They're not troops anymore. Goodbye, 1st and 10, a tried and true tradition of Space Marine armies where you took some Scouts and some Terminators. It's done. They're gone. They got Smokescreen as a word, and that's it. Mr. Apothecary, Primaris or Vanilla. Company Agent, again, Primaris or Vanilla. Blade Guard Ancient. He gets the Deathwing or Wolfguard keyword if he's part of that chapter. And there he is, even painted up as Deathwing right there. Regular Terminator Ancient gets Deathwing or Wolfguard. Veteran Intercessors. Now, that's not a stratagem anymore, you might have noticed. It's just a unit. So you can take an Elite Choice Intercessor squad, and they can be equipped as Assault Intercessors. So you can give them Astartes Chainswords and Heavy Bolt Pistols if you want. That's going to be pretty cool. It's an Elite Choice, but they do get 5 attacks on the charge each, so 50 attacks coming out of that 10-man squad for 12 power. 240-ish points. And you can give the sergeant a big stabber too, so might be pretty popular. I'm definitely considering getting that Start Collected box, mostly just because I want more bikes, but that Assault Intercessor squad might get painted as veterans, and ride my repulsor to stab things real good with chainswords. And because I want to have a second one of those units that's armed with like actual good weapons. Blade Guard vets, you can see here, special keywords. Nothing really different from the stock one that was in Indominus. Company vets. I'm sure, again, especially with the older stuff, I'm sure there's some stuff I'm missing that's like, oh, this could be really cool and janky, but I gotta soak this up more to actually find it out. Melted Bombs and the Vanguard vets, there we go. Did the company vets have it? Oops. Nope. Everything's core, by the way. I don't know if you've been keeping track, but like literally every unit in this army is core. Core. If that's not a character, it's core. It's either core or a character. Stern Guard are core. Don't have Melted Bombs though, but the Vanguards do. It's just the Assault Marines that apparently do. Shock Grenades are on the Reaver squad. You notice they're core. Aggressors are core. Terminators are core. And they get Deathwing and Wolfguard keywords. Now, interestingly enough, that means that the Deathwing and the Wolfguard apparently can't mix their weapons anymore. So that might, I mean, it might change in the, like the supplement codexes. It might make some notes so that you can do X or Y, but it doesn't look like you can. Now, interestingly, Cataphracti and Tartarus Terminators are mixed into a single squad now called Relic Terminator squads. No more 4+ invol. Just they're Relic Terminator squads. They can have these weapons. Mix and match. Feel free. And that's it. Centurion Assault, Invictor Warsuit. Not core, but core. So the Centurions don't get the core keyword. Now, Dreadnoughts. Okay, one of my favorite new rules. Every single Dreadnought got this. The Invictor Warsuit didn't because he's not a Dreadnought. They get the Duty Eternal rule. Each time attack is allocated to that model, subtract 1 from its damage characteristic to a minimum of 1. Take that, knobs with big choppas on. You're damage 1 now. It effectively, I mean, it means that you gotta fire small arms at them, but it effectively doubles their wound stat against certain things. That's real good. I'm so excited about that. And then Dreads. Now you'll notice that there's some interesting stuff in here, like Dreadnought. If it's from the Space Wolf chapter, its Dreadnought close combat weapon can be replaced with a Great Wolf Claw. What? And it's right in here. There's Space Wolf equipment in this book. So, like I said, how do I know that certain things are just not going to get reprinted and maybe there's not a full codex coming for those armies? It's stuff like this that kind of makes me think that that's going to be the way. Vendread, same thing. He can take a Great Wolf Claw. He can also take a Blizzard Shield because the Vendread can have the Great Phoenician Great Axe, and it's right here. Great Axe and Wolf Shield in the regular Space Marine Codex. Ironclad can now be taken by pretty much everybody. If this is to be the case. And you might notice the Dreadnoughts are also all core. Core, core, core. Sweet. Redemptor gets it too, though. Gets Duty Eternal. Gets core. But still has a wound track, so I don't know how much I like him. 13 wounds is pretty good. 7 though, wound track. I still like my Ironclads. Assault squads, core Melta Bombs. Outrider squads, core. Invader ATV, not core, but you can take units of up to 3 of them. I still don't know how I feel about the Invader ATV. Bike squads, core. Scout bike squads, core. And then attack bike squads, still core. Suppressor squads, core. And the much better Inceptor squads. I can't remember if the Accelerated Arcane was heavy 2 before. I feel like it was heavy 2. It's heavy 3 now. Might have still been heavy 3. I feel like it wasn't. I feel like it was only heavy 2. I like it. And then the Hail Strike, Thunder Strike, and the Hammer Strike. Instead of giving you 1 profile, they just gave you 3 for this fast attack choice. They basically just, it's like, this one does missiles with crack and a Melta Destroyer. This one does a Las Talon and shoots the sky. This one does lots of frag and Gatling cannons. So it's like anti-infantry, anti-planes and armor, crack missiles and Melta guns. I feel like the Melta one's gonna be the most popular with the 3-shot Melta Destroyer, which is just real good. And it gets the Ravenwing keyword if it's a Dark Angel, because of course it does. Land Speeders, Tornadoes, Typhoons, Hellblaster squads. Largely unchanged from what I can see. They are core, of course. Eliminators, also core. Centurions, not core, but infantry still. Eradicators are amazing. Oh, they're so good. Still just great. Like, best unit in the new range. You get your melter rifles, or of course you can be armed with heavy melter rifles that are heavy 1, and it's D6 plus 4.5 range, and always D6 plus 2, which is pretty amazing. But you can't run and shoot them. So I like the assault for the versatility. And then the bolt pistols, and 1 and 3 can have a multi-melt instead. Devastators, Thunderfire Cannons, Fire Strike Servo Turret, the new little like standing gun, which is pretty neat. You can have a Las Talon too. Not core, you might notice, it's artillery. And then all the old tanks, Hunters, Stalkers, and Whirlwinds, Predators, the new Gladiator, which is pretty rad. Only 12 wounds, it's not as tough as the Repulsor is, but it's got lots of guns on it. The Lancer Laser Destroyer is pretty cool. It's pretty cheap, actually, point-wise. And it can be given 2 frag storm grenade launchers. And adding on, you can take an Iron Hail, you can take an Icarus rocket pod, and you can take auto launchers. And it's +1 to hit with the Laser Destroyer. So it hits on 2s, worst 4s, even when damaged, which is pretty cool. And you get the Reaper with tons of guns, and the Valiant with the multi-melta and twin las cannon. So all good. They're all neat, they're all different. You had 3 profiles instead of 1. I don't know why they didn't just give 1 profile and change his weapons, but I guess it changes the points and the power that way. And then Landers and Vindicators, Crusaders, Redeemers, Repulsor, Executioner. You'll notice the Machine Spirit rule has to be present in order to get in the Repulsor field, obviously, for 2 of the stratagems. So Repulsors have the Machine Spirit. Crusaders obviously have Machine Spirit. It's the first thing that ever came with it. No Machine Spirit though on the Gladiators. So that's pretty relevant, or these guys, the Vindicators either. Yep, they get a Repulsor field, but no Machine Spirit, so no bringing them back up to full. That does add some value to the Repulsor, even though it's expensive, and still the Land Raider as well. Rhinos and Razorbacks, the Impulsor, not quite as good with its Force Dome anymore, but still pretty good. Or its Shield Dome, sorry. And then Drop Pods still can't be used by Primaris. Ugh. Still wish they could be. Storms and Stormhawks. Storm Talons, Storm Ravens. And the Hammerfall Bunker, which is new too. All right, so then we get into here. Weapon profiles gives us all the cool new weapons and like what counts as what for a bolt weapon and stuff. Just a quick reference of all of them, which is handy. Right at the back of the book. I do feel like this book could have been big enough to give me one of those like silk markers, which would have been handy for certain things. If you're gonna make a book this big, put one in there. And now here we go, the most controversial part of all, the point values. Again, I'm not going through every single point value. I'm just gonna hold this still for a second, and if you really wanna look and pause and squint at the stream, and you can, but notice that you don't have to flip around. Everything has a flat point value. If an option costs something, the option's here. If it doesn't cost anything, it's just included in the point value and you get that option for free. That's it. It is super quick to make an army. Even with an army this vast, when you look at something, there's 1, 2, 3, 4 pages, 5 pages of point values, and it's just the thing, how many points per model, and any option cost it has. And that's it. No flipping around, no trying to go through a huge table of like what everything does and where it is. Just make an army and go. And this quality of life improvement is, to me, the biggest acknowledgement of just how like oppressively not fun it was to make army lists in 8th edition 40k, having to like grind through all those individual point values. You're also going to notice that there's not anything in here that isn't a multiple of 5. It doesn't need to be that crunchy. This is a literal like acknowledgement that points are an imperfect system. The value of points in a game changes depending upon what can see what, where you are in the terrain, the mission, the army you're paired up against, the mix of units that I took versus the mix of units that you took. It is impossible to make an accurate point value system. It is a best guess, and points are just an agreement between 2 people that the game is relatively fair and you're both going to have fun. This change to 40k acknowledges that, and it's going to be not fun for every army that has to still do points the 8th edition way going forward until they get the new codex. Knights have it, I guess, the easiest because it's just less to add up, but like, I'm so happy they did this. I'm so happy that the point values, they still have a tiny bit of crunch in them with unit stuff, but it literally says right in the header here, If an entry has a unit cost of X points per model, then it's X points per model for every model in that unit. You must add the points for each weapon or item in Wargear that's included in that unit if it's listed in the unit's entry. Weapons and other Wargear not listed in the unit entry cost no additional points to include in that unit, so you just don't pay for them. And there's nothing here that's 2, 3, 7. Oh, sorry, there's one thing. There's a combat shield still costs 3 points. That's the only thing I found here that's not a multiple of 5. Is there anything else? I looked through this last night trying to see if there's anything else. Sorry, the combat shield doesn't. That feels like a typo. Make the combat shield 0 or 5. I guess the only thing in the entire book it's not in multiple of 5. Oh no, never mind. I found a couple other things. The Vanguard veteran squads have some crunchy point values. But 99% of this is just in multiples of 5. Yeah, there's maybe like 24 things that are like 2, 3, 4 points, and it's when a unit's upgrading, not like an individual model. Everything else is by 5s and 10s and 15s and 20s. Multiples of 5 to keep it easy. And then we got our glossary and reference, and the digital code when you buy the book so that you can download it into the app for free and have it as a rules reference. It's finally here. If we buy a book, we get the digital copy for free to take it on the go. It even says for access to rules and gaming on the go. Yay! It finally happened. Oh, Codex Space Marines, I'm so happy with you. You are a meaty giant book, but along with the Necron Codex, this is just like a vast like design improvement change for the way that they're written, for the way they're laid out, for the way the game felt to play. We played 2 games of the new armies this past week, and of course the one you're watching today went up. And I made my army list in 5 seconds. We played a 5-turn game. I mean, it was a 40k game. So it still took a while, and we're still getting to grips with our new armies. But I knew what my requisitions were. I knew what my stratagems were. Even combining with the old Ultramarine supplement codex, it was super comfortable. And I could find everything quickly and easily. I could parse all like where my stratagems were by what they did and what they affected. So it was easy to flip to that stuff. And the glossary at the back meant that I could just quickly look up and see like, oh, what does Angels of Death do now? Oh, there we go, it does this. Oh, sweet, Bolter's one does that. Oh, the Doctrines all do this. Like, it was so easy to play the game out of this book. And I am excited to see all the other 40k codexes now with this new design direction in mind. Because it just acknowledges a bunch of things that were not bothering me about 40k and 8th edition, but it seemed like 8th edition was getting hung up on. Just a downplaying of narrative play. You know, the army's not feeling particularly unique in that big mishmash of soup. How like just oppressive it was to add up points. Just this like fascination with like these super accurate point values where they just don't matter. And then taking units that weren't fun to play against or just felt like they weren't sort of like, they weren't on par with the units, and then just bringing them up. Don't balance things down, balance up. It's more fun to add value to things and try and to bring things up to the same level as other stuff and make them viable options than it is to like push things down when they're too good. And that just design philosophy, it looks like the design studio did a big like session on what do we want to do going forward in 9th edition? What are we happy with? You know, like big SWOT analysis of like, what are we happiness? What are our strengths? What are our weaknesses? What are opportunities here? And this looks like a big grasping of opportunities into a really quality book that is easy to use, fun to read, and has big doors open for expansion. So I'm really looking forward to the supplemental codexes for Space Wolves, for Blood Angels, for Death Watch, especially for my Death Watch army, just to see what that does. Like, can I take Storm Ravens now, my Death Watch army? Like, all this stuff. Like, because, again, I might be getting ahead of myself. I might be getting excited, but it looks like I got a whole bunch of new things, new toys I can add to my army. Just because the list of prohibited units is very short. And that's exciting. That's good design. Good design means more toys, more fun, easier to play with, easier to digest and use. And for something as meaty as the Space Marine Codex, that's quite an accomplishment. So I'm really happy with this. I'm really happy with the Necron Codex too. You can check out that review again up here in the cards and watch me and play with them. And there's my first impressions of the book. So anyway, big thanks for watching. We'll see you for more GMG reviews in the future. Thanks out, MASH. Have a good one. I hope you enjoyed that video. If you want to support the channel, of course, like and subscribe and hit the little bell below so you get notifications when I post future content. I do post stuff 7 days a week. If you want to support the channel further, you can, of course, buy a t-shirt through Spreadshirt, buy a measuring gauge or objective markers from Death Ray Designs, or, of course, most importantly, there is Patreon. Patreon is what makes all this possible, keeps the lights on, pays for the studio costs, pays for the equipment, model costs, and everything else, and most importantly, puts food in my kids' bellies and a roof over their heads. Big thanks to everyone, past, future, who supported me. I do this stuff because of you guys, and of course, I will continue doing it as long as I can.